What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. We are live breaking down game 23 of the regular season. The Toronto Maple Leafs defeats the Pittsburgh Penguins here tonight 4-1, going to 13-5-5 on the season. This was a great game from the get-go here. The Leafs got off to a great start against the Pittsburgh Penguins, started rolling right away. Mitch Marner scores very quickly into the game to extend his 16-game point streak. He's two back of the Leafs' all-time point streak leaders, Daryl Sittler and Eddie Olczyk, at 18 games. So it'll be interesting to see if Mitch Marner is going to be able to get there, going to be able to catch those guys on those point streaks that they had, and potentially set a new franchise record for consecutive games with points. So Mitch Marner has been on absolute fire lately, and for him to come out here and get it out of the way right away with a beautiful goal that he scored on a pass from Austin Matthews, that was incredible. And I know the story is going to primarily be Mitch Marner getting that 16-game point streak here, but one thing that should be discussed amongst all of this is the fact that Austin Matthews, 2 assists, 1 goal here tonight, 3 points. And we've got a bunch of people in the chat saying, Austin Matthews off the schneid. Is Austin Matthews off the schneid? Craig Harrison saying Austin Matthews is off the schneid with the goal and 2 assists here tonight. I think that this might be that turning point for him where he starts to get things rolling and he can just go on an absolute heater and put up goals continuously at this rate, like where we saw him last season. And one of the things that I continue to say, and Matthew and I talked about it on the last stream when he called in, was Matthews was ahead of where he was at last season at the same number of games in terms of points scored, and he only had 1 less goal. Now, I think that part of what went into it, where the panic for him, was that last season he started with an injury. So it was like, oh, this is why this is happening. Whereas this year, everyone's kind of sitting there going, I don't get it. Why is he playing like this? Why is this happening? Why isn't Matthews being dominant? I think maybe the guy maybe he just started slow this year. Maybe that's what it is. Some guys, it can take them a little bit to get into it, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Matthews is like a guy who's going to be slow on things. He typically starts pretty well. He was above point per game during that period of time, but man, it was his time to get going, and I think this might be the start of it. So knock on wood that we don't jinx anything with Matthews there. If anyone wants to call into the show here tonight, make sure to join the Leafs Digest Discord. You guys can find the link to that in the description of this video. Join in there, send me a message. We can get people on the call to call in here tonight and talk to us about their thoughts on the game. So if anybody has anything to say, anything about Matthews, Marner, all that kind of stuff, let us know. But we're sitting here in a position where 4 of the Leafs' 6 defenders who are in this lineup, usually on a nightly basis, are out. We've had to rely upon Mark Giordano, Justin Hall, Sandy, and Liljegren, and now we've brought up Mete and Hollowell to fill in these shoes. This D has looked very good, considering who's in there on a nightly basis for them. This D has stepped up and been able to take over a large amount of this workload and not look overwhelmed at all. Mark Giordano is 39 years old, and he has not looked out of it. He has not looked out of it at all. So when we're looking at this and we're looking at this team, it's interesting because a couple of days ago, Sheldon Keefe, when Morgan Rielly was injured, Sheldon Keefe came out and said, like, we've done it before. We've had to play without some of our big guys before, and other guys had to step up. Other guys have stepped up. That's what's going to have to happen. Sometimes we've even played better. Well, are they playing better without these guys right now? Now, that being said, like, you're not going to want to sit out Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody, and Jordy Ben primarily when they're healthy, but man, this D has looked pretty good just playing as a unit. One thing that I keep seeing here in the chat is Pontus Holmberg. A bunch of people have brought up Pontus Holmberg. I'm seeing James B saying, what a snipe by Pontus. Calvin, good game by all. Pontus is a good player. Sheldon Keefe said when Pontus first got his call up that this guy was going to be a legit NHL player. And he had high praise for the guy. He had high praise for what he might be able to do in this league. And it became very evident that there was some type of affinity for Pontus Holmberg and what they felt his potential could be. When they brought him over here from the Swiss League, they thought this guy could be a legit NHL player. He could be a guy who could get it going on a consistent basis. And they've trusted him a lot in this lineup. Now, he is older than Nick Robertson, but this is part of what goes into when these guys are like in or out of the lineups. Pontus Holmberg has been trusted by, he's only 2 years older than Nick Robertson. He's been trusted by Sheldon Keefe and this management group from basically the day that he got here. Like, they were like, yeah, this guy will be able to play. He's gotten into this lineup, and they've had no hesitation rolling him out there consistently. He hasn't even been a question of whether or not he'll be in the lineup over other guys. They are quite happy with him being in it. So I'm quite excited to see what Pontus Holmberg might be able to do here, because now he's got goals in 2 of his last 3 games with this team. And now that the floodgates have opened up a little bit where he can get some of that comfortability of like, all right, I've scored some goals. I've done that. I've got it off my chest. He's already been playing pretty well in terms of every other aspect of his game. If he can continue this and continue to push on this, Pontus Holmberg may be a very, very, very valuable member of this team night in, night out. We look at teams around the league who are competitive every single season, teams that look to make long playoff runs. And one of the things is always you need that cheap depth talent, whether it be guys on their ELCs or it's depth guys that you can sign at league mins or $1.5 million. You need to be able to find those guys, and you need them to step up. Pontus Holmberg is stepping up, and he's on a very cheap contract with this team. This could be a guy that we look back at and go, wow, what an impactful player for what we thought he might not be. So as far as the Pontus Holmberg situation goes, quite happy to see him be able to get on the board here tonight with a goal. And I think I think you got to trust him. You got to continue to rely on him. Jaden Tutorials 98 saying, I think Holmberg is a player you can't take out now. He's so responsible with the puck. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. I'd have him in all year, including the playoffs. I think that's fair. You got to see how the rest of the season can continue to play out and what might happen with him. But yeah, like, this is definitely not a guy that you can take out, because if you're taking him out, it's not based on his play. It's not at all. He has been very reliable every single time he's been in there. He's been a trustworthy player, and he's showing he's got some potential to grow here and continue to do some good things. So as far as Pontus Holmberg, yeah, you can't take him out of the lineup. You cannot take him out. I again, to Dennis Malgin being in there, I think Malgin is a guy who's going to be feisty every single time he's playing. He's not going to wow you with anything really, but he definitely is a feisty player, battles. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Sheldon Keefe decisions, whether or not he wants to keep him in this lineup consistently. So see what happens with him. Matthew Kolakowski saying, what did I say the other night on the stream? Hall has been good. Everyone flame me. Now look what the chat is saying. And I'm seeing Denver Charlebois saying, Zach, what are your thoughts on Hall? Hall has been amazing. Denver, you gonna ask 800 times? Justin Hall's best friend are there or what? Listen, Justin Hall has been fine, but Justin Hall lacks IQ. He lacks skill. He's a big body that does not play like a big body. Everyone wants to sit here and go nuts about how we need big players. We need big guys. We need these strong, tough guys, etc. He's not any of those. Right now, he's kind of just a guy who's playing minutes. And I don't think it's sustainable for him to be in a position to continue to take these minutes and not get exposed. At some point, it's going to come back to bite him in the ass. And look what happens even when he's lower in the lineup, how poorly he plays. I'm seeing Super Sim say, Zach, where's the Hall animation? Oh, got a little freeze. There we go. Yeah, he's still the pylon. So, Devin Sr. saying Hall is not a top pairing defenseman. Listen, this is what I'm going to say as well. If Justin Hall is in your lineup regularly come playoff time, you will be in a bad position because we've seen it time and time again, and you see it consistently as the regular season goes on. He is not a trustworthy player to have out there, and it will continue to bite you in the ass. Jaden Tutorials 98. Mac Hollowell has been quietly good on that bottom pair the last 3 games versus 3 very good teams. I wouldn't necessarily classify Pittsburgh as a very good team. They were a team that was trending in the right direction. They were on a 5-game win streak, get snapped here tonight, but Mac Hollowell has definitely been steady. He's been steady. And I think that that's the most you could ask for of a young guy who's coming up here in a situation where your big guns are missing. Your big guns are out of the lineup with injury, and you have to basically you have to almost survive. And that was the wording that I heard them use on the broadcast there tonight when Evgeni Malkin came down on him in like the one-on-one situation, and Mac Hollowell basically just didn't give him time and space. Malkin gets boxed out by Hollowell after the fact, unable to get to the rebound, and it's like, that's perfect. That's what you need. You're not looking for the guy to go out there and make insane plays. We know he's not a Cale Makar. He's not a massive guy, so play defensive. Play well defensively. Prove that you can be trusted as a defenseman, because that's what he is, and then the offense will start coming in his game. He's a guy who can score goals. He's a guy who can create plays, create points, create offense. It's what he did when he was in junior. It's what he was capable of doing when he was with the Marlies, but it's not just going to immediately translate to the NHL. And it's one thing that I've talked about on stream before is that a lot of guys are capable of putting up large numbers of points, whether it be in junior or in college, or if it even is in the AHL, and then it doesn't translate to the NHL. It doesn't translate to the speed or the skill or the way other teams play defensively. So sometimes you got to really figure out, what is it that I'm going to be in the NHL? And now that's not to say that Mac Hollowell can't be a point guy in the NHL. It doesn't mean he can't create points or create offense like he does when he's in junior or with the Marlies. But it might mean that he's not going to do it at the same level. So the first and most important thing for him to have to prove here to Sheldon Keefe, the coaching staff, everyone involved in this Leafs organization is, can you be a guy who can be trusted when you're on the ice? Vincent Lee saying, I think Hollowell's there just to give our normal guys rest. He should just get on the ice, finish his shift with no risks or damage. Agreed, but I think that that's what he's doing. And I think that that's kind of what he's realized he's got to do. So with some of that, it's just show that you're trustworthy. Show you're not going to get beat, or you're not going to be lost on the ice and all that kind of stuff. And if you can be in right time, right place, then you're going to be in a good position. So I think Mac Hollowell has looked pretty good so far. Also on the Justin Hall, I saw this comment in here, so I want to say it is Vincent Lee says, don't be fooled. We know what Justin Hall normally does. I've seen this before, and eventually he plays the way that he does. Yeah. That's the thing. And Craig Harrison saying, hope you all forgot about Nick Paul blowing by Hall to end the Leafs playoffs. Like that's my problem with Hall, is that Hall will have the massive issues where it becomes a major problem and it really kills the team. He's looking okay right now, or fine, or however you want to say it, but he hasn't been incredible. So let's not go too crazy here about what Justin Hall is or could be. Let's pump the brakes on it a little bit. He's looked fine in this time. I'm just saying, at some point here over the next couple of games, we're going to come on this stream and everyone is going to go, oh my God, did you see what Justin Hall did? Oh my God, what are they doing with Justin Hall out there? It's inevitable that is going to happen. So that's all I'm at with it. We've seen it far too much. He's just not trustworthy. Mike Simpson, 81. There's really no need to criticize anyone on defense right now. They're all punching above their weight and doing a great job. Giordano is leading them very well. Yeah, Gio has been unreal as a 39-year-old defenseman who has been in here and has been able to carry all these guys. Like, remember ahead of the season, Mark Giordano took that insanely valuable contract and was able to fit into this salary cap because he wanted to be here. He wanted a chance to win. He wanted to play at home. He was going to be the 5-6 pairing guy, and he was going to hold the younger guys and be able to help them and guide them and kind of teach them along the way. And now he's thrown into a position where he has to be a number one pairing guy. And he's doing well. 39 years old, logging a ton of minutes, playing crucial minutes, and he's looking really good, which part of this is also just like, hey, this means you have a guy that you might be able to trust in bigger scenarios when those other guys do come back. You get looks at the guy in these big time moments, in these big minutes, and you say like, all right, we know that we can rely on you. We know that you can haul some minutes and you could be a horse back there. Let's see what else you can do. Also seeing here, Robert Smith, what about Hall last night fighting off 3 stars in his own end and making the clear? You see that play, did you? Did you see the play where Zuccarello scored the goal to make it 4-3, where he picked up nobody in front of the net and Matt Zuccarello, who was his guy to the side, left wide open, buries it, and Justin Hall was standing there with his hands crossed in his lap? Like, cherry pick all you'd like, but the majority of the time he's not doing good things. So that's all where we're at. Patricia James, hey Zach, is Marner's points streak going to get to 19? I mean, it's hard to predict some of that, obviously. I would like to say yes. The Leafs' next game is against the Red Wings on Monday. That would be a good opportunity to get to 17. Then Wednesday against the San Jose Sharks. I think that yet again could be a great opportunity to get there. So I wouldn't put it past him. His next game after that would be Saturday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that would be the game where it's an opportunity to get to 19. So I think he could at least get to 18 here. I think he's going to have a great opportunity to do so in the next 2 games against the Red Wings and the Sharks. When it gets to that game against Tampa, it's going to be a little difficult. Remember some of the troubles that were had in the playoffs last year. And Tampa's a team that they have been absolutely rolling. They would likely try to get Vasilevsky in net for that night if they could against the Maple Leafs, knowing what it means, knowing the rivalry that it is. They might lock down because they know who are the guys you got to stop. Well, it's going to be the guy, if he is at that point on an 18-game point streak. It's Austin Matthews. It's John Tavares, who's been incredible this year. They know. those games a lot of times are going to rely on the depth guys. So Marner may have a little bit more of a difficult time. That's part of the reason why I have any type of hesitancy towards if he can get to that 19, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Robert Smith saying Marner better get his 19-game streak at $11 million a year. I don't think point streaks have anything to do with the amount of money that you make, but fair enough. Maybe overall points at the end of the season, I could understand that, but point streaks, I would have to say no. Roger Matthews saying, let's not put too much into their player. They're going well, but it's going to hit some bumps. Potentially, yes, but here's the thing. If you are a very good team, which these guys claim that they are and believe that they are, and the fans think that they should be, a lot of times you should be able to battle through those. And what they've done with these guys out has been great. So hopefully it can continue. It'll be a very tough test against the Tampa Bay Lightning because that is a big team where you might be in a position to here where you just get blown out of the water, or if you have all those guys missing, because that could be a situation where it actually gets exposed as being like not that great. But we'll see. I think that the next 2 games they're going to have an opportunity to continue this and keep it rolling. Do have a super chat here from CD Corn. Shout out CD Corn for the super chat. Appreciate it as always. CD Corn saying, Gio for the Smythe. Mark keeping the broth hot. Nice.
Good one, Randy. Good one.
I like that. Mark keeping the broth hot. Mark Giordano for the Conn Smythe. Very nice. If he gets to the playoffs and manages to be the Leafs' best defender, that would be kind of hilarious. Jacob M saying, hey, Leafs Digest, what's up? What's up, Jacob? Also, everyone who's in here right now, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You can turn on notifications so you get notified every single time that we go live here. And if you don't mind, drop a like on this stream. That would be greatly appreciated. Right now, on the line, we got Matthew calling in again. Matthew, can you hear us here?
Yeah, buddy. What's going on?
Not much. How about you?
Honestly, just sorry for the raspy voice. Feel a little bit under the weather, but good to see the Leafs win today, and then also a big win for my Poland team in the World Cup today.
All good. Hopefully you feel better. It was nice to get to see the Leafs win this one here, and in dominant fashion too. And then congrats on the Poland win. Hopefully we can get. I think Canada plays tomorrow, right? So hopefully we can get a Canada soccer win as well.
There's some beef there with the coach saying some comments about Croatia.
Yeah, he said F Croatia.
Yeah. It's you know what though, I love it, dude. You know what? I think that brings a little bit of Canadian banter into the soccer world. You know, I kind of love it, man.
Yeah, it kind of brings that intensity. And don't kid yourself. He knew exactly what he's doing. For anybody who's like, oh, that's a rookie move or whatever, like he knew what he was doing. This guy has been in World Cups before. He's been there for the women's games with different women's teams. Like he knows what the World Cup stage is all about. He knew exactly what he was doing going into this game.
Anyways, enough of the World Cup. We're here to talk about the Leafs. So.
Yeah, so what did you make of tonight's game? Like, I thought that was pretty dominant right from the jump.
Dude, I mean, obviously, the one I'm just gonna love seeing the rest of NHL Twitter explode over that early whistle. It's gonna be bias towards Toronto, like we haven't like it hasn't been since 2004 since we've won a playoff round. And it's just my favorite was the takes of people on Twitter saying that Matt Murray deserves to be suspended for knocking the net off. That was my favorite.
Yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous. The suspension talk on that was so absurd for anybody to even suggest. Like, there's no suspending guys for that.
It just like the men, like before I really got into like the social media of hockey and everything, like I was just kind of like back in high school when I was playing a lot of hockey and playing a lot of soccer. I didn't really have time to like really follow the Leafs the way I do now. And like it never occurred to me how much blatant hate there is for this like fan base and for this team. It's actually like absurd. Like I'm just trying to cheer for my team and everyone's just like every step of the way they're just like find a new reason, like made up a reason to hate us. Like their goalie's a cheater, he knocks off the net. It's like if your team's goalie did that, you'd be praising him as a genius.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like we talked about it on the last stream was two of them were for sure reasonable, like, and not penalties. And then the other one was questionable, but you can understand why they didn't call it.
Also shout out to that chick yelling, put some epoxy in it. That was hilarious.
That was pretty funny. Yeah. If anybody didn't see that, they cut to her in the stands. There was and
they even turned the mic up.
Yeah, there was a fan yelling from Minnesota, put some epoxy in the post to keep them in. As far as tonight goes, we did get to see Eric Chalgren have himself a great game, 25 saves, 1 goal against. It was kind of too bad that ultimately that shutout gets broken, but it is kind of it's a whatever goal. It happens. He puts up a .962 save percentage. Man, you kind of almost feel bad for the guy because Samsonov is going to be coming up soon. Like he's going to be coming back soon. And Chalgren has been pretty good in this Leafs net, but he played a great game here tonight.
I think we talked about this the other night too. And it's like people have words about Chalgren all the time. You got to realize he's our third goalie. For a third goalie, he's really good. He's good enough to be an NHL backup, in my opinion. And if all goes well with our tandem, like, do we even think about like I don't want to look forward to the off season like this, but do we even think about packaging him to like trade for a defenseman or something? Because he's a good, like at this point he's proven himself as a decent NHL backup.
Yeah, potentially. It kind of depends on what you think that Keith Petruzzelli could be, because as much as that is a nice thing to look at, and like I don't disagree with you, but we've seen all the goalie injuries that we've had here in Toronto over like the last 6 years. The third goalie in Toronto has been like the most important goalie that we've had. Like it's been like the most important depth position that we've had. Honestly, it's crazy.
Like, oh my god, remember like the Garrett Sparks games? Like you just knew you were losing. Like it was
Hutchison,
like Chalgren. Oh my god, bro! Like honestly, Chalgren has been such a breath of fresh air. Like to have, to like go into this season thinking like goaltending was going to be our biggest problem, and then like a quarter of the way through the season, and it seems like goaltending is the least of our problems.
We have dealt with both of our goalies, whatever you want to consider them, I guess, but like I'll call them both our starters because I don't necessarily know if at this point one is a backup to the other one, but like both of our starters have missed now considerable periods of time. We've had to rely on Chalgren. Keith Petruzzelli has literally been on the bench backing up Chalgren at certain points. For us to be able to continue to sit here and be like, yep, our goaltending's being pretty good. And this is also a goaltending group that in the offseason or coming into this season, everyone was like, outside of Toronto, really? Yeah, they were sitting there saying, what was Kyle Dubas thinking? What an idiot. What terrible move. This guy is like digging his own grave. Like, well, they seem to have been pretty good moves at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch because, Murray's only played like 5 games, and he's looked great. And so like he's only played about a quarter of the games, less, right? So the injury problems are a problem, and we can't, as good as he has been, like when he's been in the net, like let's just hope that he can stay there.
6 games, 4-1-1.
6 games, right? Because after last night.
So
Or
here's the
like
goalie
yesterday
breakdown of games played. You want to know who the leader in the clubhouse in games played for the Maple Leafs is this season?
It's Samsonov, right? Or is it
Eric Chalgren, 9 games
Jesus.
played. Samsonov, 8. Matt Murray, 6. Here's the goaltending stats. Oh, this is weird. Chalgren, 2.87 GAA, 891 save percentage. That's your third goalie, and you're getting almost
That's not
900.
bad. That is not bad.
Yeah, and then that was also he was in the net for some of that period of time when the Leafs were playing some bad hockey. He
Yeah,
had
like
24
that West
goals
Coast
against.
road trip, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 wins, 2 losses, 4 overtime losses. So he's even at least getting points, which is great. And then Samsonov, 223 GAA, 921 save percentage. Matt Murray, 2.5 GAA, 921 save percentage. That's all you could ask for out of the goaltenders.
No,
that's all you could ask for.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's been good.
In honor of Borja, I think it's only fair we should talk about some Swedish players, perhaps.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
Nylander, his shot, like I know Nylander has always been known for his shot, but as of late, he's just been letting that thing rip, dude. I don't know what it is, but he looks so clean on the release lately. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I don't know if you agree with me. Maybe not, but I think Nylander has been a completely changed player this season.
I don't know. Like, I think maybe he was in like practicing with Matthews, but Nylander has those Matthews-esque like from behind takeaways in his locker. Where
yes, he does.
He never used to do things like that. And
he's not overly eager to jump into a physical situation, but he's not scared of them anymore, which is noticeable in his game.
Yeah, and he feels more sturdy. Like I think he might have. This might be complete conjecture, but it feels like he put on some weight, like in a good way. Like
so here was my thought. Remember when he came here that season that he held out on the contract and then he came over late and he looked significantly bigger. A lot of the guys on the team and even the media, the beat reporters and stuff were saying that basically Nylander came over here like jacked. Like he came over here like a monster. He was in crazy physical condition. He was insanely strong. But I think that what ended up happening was, and I used this analogy. You can tell me if I'm an idiot and this doesn't make sense, but you remember those kids in like elementary school where all of a sudden one year you come back to school and they're like 6 inches taller, but they're like the craziest, clumsiest kids ever. All of a sudden, like
yeah.
It was almost like Nylander grew too fast and hadn't yet figured out how to put that into an actual physical hockey form where it's like, hey, dude, it's amazing to be really strong and very big. Like David Kampf, he's a monster. But you also have to make sure that fits you and your game and how you're going to play with it. And it seems like last season, as the season went on, he started to get it and he started to figure it out. By the end of the year, I was looking at him like, man, I'm loving what this guy's doing. Playoffs, I was all hyped up over him. And now to start this season through 23 games, I've been looking at him like, I think he grew into his body. He figured out how to use his body to his advantage.
Dude, yeah, honestly, also, like, you bring up Camp. The first time I saw that, like, beach pic of Camp, I was like, what
nuts.
the hell? Dude, nuts. Like,
did you see the video of the Leafs TikTok where the social media managers asked each person, what's your favorite, each player on the team, what's your favorite snack? And each of them had, like, some type of junk food or something that was their favorite snack. And they asked David Kampf, and he goes, none, I don't eat snacks. I thought that was pretty good. I'm like, well, that makes sense. That's why you look like that. So fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, another Swedish player that I'd be interested to get your take on, unless you have any other opinions about Willie there, but another one would be Kalle Järnkrok. He gets into the lineup in the he gets into the second line in that position, and all of a sudden he's looked a whole lot better. From the start of the season, we were wondering what was wrong with this guy. He came over here, he didn't look like what we thought he would be, and then I see Jay Castro in the chat saying Yarncroke is fitting nicely up and down the lineup. He has been a whole lot better getting into a situation where he's put into that second line and playing with higher level talent. All of a sudden he looks good. He looks like he's fitting in there. He's creating opportunities. He's battling. What are your opinions on Calle Yarncroke to this point in the season?
So this is like kind of why I was excited when they were going to give him a try on the second line, because what I see Yarncroke as, and I think what they signed him to be, was to be a top 6 guy. Like Yarncroke's the type of player. There's a certain archetype of hockey player in the NHL that is not good enough to lead a top 6 line, but they're not bad enough to play on the bottom 6, if that makes sense. They have a playing like guys like Yarncroke, Bunting, even Zach Hyman. I loved him, by the way. Zach was like my favorite player. But those kind of guys are like really good complementary pieces to like superstar players. And I think when you like bury him in like the bottom 6, Yarncroke's not like a grinder, okay? He's a guy who knows how to find space. He's a guy who knows how to make a good pass, but he can also retrieve the puck from the corner. Like he has that little bit of vinegar in him, but I just think he's more of a top 6 player. Like I think the second line with Tavares, who's a great passer, and Marner, who's a great passer, for a guy who has a shot like Yarncroke does, I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I think that they brought him here to be a guy who would be a leader or like a solid player on the third line potentially. But I think that you're right in terms of he fits his archetype of player style, fits very well onto that second line. And I see here Patricia James saying you play with 2 guys with sick mitts, you will get the biscuit. Yeah. And
he has a good shot.
Yeah, he does, and he has at least some type of knack to be able to put the puck in the net. And then you nailed it perfectly when you said like he's got that little bit of vinegar where he's going to go into the corners and get pucks. And even like Mark Daigle saying here, he had to play his way there. Remember, Bunting did the same thing last year. Like, yeah,
that's a very good point. You know what? And you know what? Those guys who prove themselves to get to the top 6 usually play a lot better because they know they earned it a lot.
Yes.
Like, remember Richie? He almost played like he was entitled to be like playing with Marner and Matthews. Richie was like, I honestly, I don't usually like hate on guys who don't perform and stuff, but honestly, the way Richie performed, it just looked like he didn't give a damn. Like when he was here, it honestly pissed me off.
Yeah, he looked like he didn't have like a sense of urgency to him at all. He was just out there. He was just on the ice.
He was like Phil Kessel, but not talented. Like,
fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, he did fight his way. This is Calle Yarncroke I'm talking about here. Yeah. He did fight his way into that position. He's earned his spot on that second line, and he looks pretty good. I'm trying to think if there's any other Swedes worthy of any conversation here tonight. Yeah, Pontus Holmberg.
Holmberg. I'm seeing Holmberg as Camp 2.0. I'm going to have to disagree with that.
Yeah, same.
I think Holmberg is a lot better offensively than Camp is. Camp is a defensive specialist. Like, I think Holmberg has a higher ceiling offensively and probably a lower ceiling defensively.
Yes, actually, I would very much agree with that. Kampf is a defensive specialist. That's why they went out and were comfortable with signing a guy who had scored 1 goal the year before, because they were like, well, we don't care about that. We want you to stop guys from scoring on our net.
And to be fair, like he offensively, he's been a lot better for the Leafs than he was on Chicago.
Yeah, you just have to remember he's not going to create things, but he's capable of finishing on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's it's fine. What can you do for us offensively? Okay, you're going to be this good offensively. Perfect. That's all we're going to ask of you. Or defensively. Yeah.
Austin Matthews. I'm not saying Holmberg isn't good defensively. I'm just saying he's not as good as David Kampf. They're just different players, and I think Holmberg has proven that he has more like offensive firepower than Kampf does.
Yeah. Just want to remind people, if you guys are in the chat right now, have not hit subscribe on this channel, make sure to do so. You can turn on notifications by clicking that bell. You get notified every time we go live or videos come out. So make sure to click subscribe and turn on notifications as well as liking the stream.
Let me post on my Snap story to come for the boys to come join the stream.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate it. But I do want to get into our Austin Matthews play of the day. So I'll hit the animation, and then I'm interested to hear your Austin Matthews play of the day.
Okay.
All right. Austin Matthews play of the day. I know what mine is, but I'm going to let you go first here.
Definitely Bunting. Last time it was Marner's assist. I'm a little bit of a sucker for a good assist. And Bunting I don't know how he, to be Michael Bunting, the little rat that you are, to suck in 3 Pittsburgh defenders, lay out, sprawl, put your stick out and get it to Matthews to get, by the way, scored a wrister from the slot. Remember when everyone was panicking? Yeah. Bunting's play there was just out of this world. And Bunting and Matthews clearly have a great relationship, because anytime Bunting sets up Matthews just looks way happier that Bunting passed him the puck.
Yeah, he goes nuts. When it happens.
That's just how you know Bunting's like a beauty in the locker room. Like, you just know he's a huge locker room guy.
Yeah, they definitely like him, and I mean, Matthews had Marner and Bunting out to his place in Arizona over the summer, so they've got some good chemistry. For mine, I'm also seeing 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters, saying I subscribe, Zach, appreciate that. And then he also says Marner's opening goal, it set the tone, and that is my Austin Matthews play of the day. You start the game off with an incredible amount of pressure that was being brought against the Penguins from the Leafs right away. They were bringing the heat, creating chances, getting a bunch of shots, and all of a sudden, Matthews comes out on the ice, grabs a puck in the neutral zone, makes a quick heads-up play out front, or up ice to Marner in the neutral zone at the blue line. He goes in, makes an incredible move. It sets the tone for that game, and for him to be able to get his 16-game point streak basically out of the way right away to start the game, it's perfect. Like, that's perfect. That's all you could ask for out of that situation, because now you don't have to stress about it, whether or not he'll be able to get it. Is he going to continue the streak? It's done. It's over with. Play the game now. And then he continues to add on another point after the fact. So that's my play of the day. That was just an incredible move, and he's able to make it 16 games straight.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to deny that Marner's move there, he literally broke the hell out of DeSmith's ankles. So, I mean, like, you know, like, that's just Marner being Marner. Like, it's like he gets so much flack, but then, like, also there's just like, I really love how Marner's, like, tenacity is starting to, like, translate more and more in the defensive end. There's this one random play towards the end of the game, like, obviously Pittsburgh wasn't going to come back, but it was 4-1 at this point, and I think it was like Crosby who was trying to make a pass across to, I forget who, to be honest, but it would have been a goal, but Marner just poked it away, and, like, it was like a minute 30 left or something. And it's just like plays like that I'm seeing more and more from guys like Matthews and Marner, and it's like, I'm really excited for this sort of defensive mentality change, because, like, in years past, when that goal goes in, because let's be honest, it's a lucky bounce. It's a lucky goal. Like, it just goes off Engvall's skate right to the Pittsburgh player. In years past, like, that's a 3-3 hockey game within 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that play too, I mean, hey, we're not here to, like, harp on stuff, but that was a ridiculous play by Pierre Engvall. The defenseman was already on the guy in the corner. Engvall should have stuck with Raquel. He goes to make a play on his own defenseman's guy who already has that guy. The guy makes a pass. Yes, it's a very unlucky bounce, but that being said, he should have never left Raquel in the first place. So it's kind of a dumb one, but you're right. You're right.
You make a good point there.
I am seeing in the chat here.
Yep.
Jaden Tutorials 98 saying play of the day is Leafs penalty kill. Awesome Matthew saying when Marner spun Letang around and passed to Pontus, that was insane too. That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
It was a nice goal there. I saw Mark Diago saying my favorite was the Pontus snipe. So at least there was a bunch of plays for the Leafs here tonight that got some type of recognition.
Yeah, dude, literally any one of like the plays on any of the goals could have been the play of the game. Like they were all pretty beauty goals.
Yes, they were. As far as I am seeing someone in the chat say, I'm going to find the comment here, but they recommended 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters, saying trade Morgan and Kerfoot and use Muzzin's money to improve. Would you at all, and this is something Josh had brought up to me before, and I always shut it down immediately, but would you want to or be interested in moving on from Morgan Riley?
Wow. That's tough. I know. That's just pain. That's pain because I love Morgan Riley because you know what? He's been with the Leafs through some really bad times. And frankly, I thought personally he deserved the C over Tavares. But obviously maybe now I think maybe the Tavares decision was better, but you know what that sort of trade talk, it kind of reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of the Rosen and Kawhi, man. You know
Fair
why?
enough.
Because it's the same kind of vibe, that kind of trade. And I mean, like, if trading Morgan Riley is going to get you like a bona fide stud, top defenseman from like but who are you going to trade him for? That's my issue, right? Like, if the deal is right, sure, but then like that sort of shakeup, like I think is warranted given the years of playoff futility. But he's also done so much for the organization, and I mean, I understand it's a business, and like just like with DeRozan, like it didn't feel good, but at the end of the day, it got them a championship. So, do I really like if it means the Leafs winning a chip? And we hurt Morgan Riley's feelings, like I'm doing that every day of the week, like but you still got to feel for the guy. I mean, like he's been here since like some of the grossest, most disgusting Leaf seasons in a long time.
Yeah, he saw a lot of shit in his time here. I am also seeing Awesome Matthew saying Riley is too vintage. He's been here forever. Dalek saying Morgan has to stay. Mark Diago saying no chance. Longest standing player, wouldn't want to poison the room by moving him. I think that could be one that would be hurtful to the room. We're watching that guy go. I think he is a center stone or a centerpiece in this, this locker room and in this lineup. So it would be hard to go. The other thing is, like you said it, what do you get in return for him? What is it that you're getting back? Because at this point, what you're likely looking for is defensemen. And who the hell is trading a defenseman for Morgan Riley of caliber that you're looking for in return? So you're going to go out there and trade Morgan Riley, and now you're going to need more defensemen when you're already looking for them right now. That's part of the problem.
Like I'm thinking about it right now, and other than Erik Karlsson, who is literally like a very similar archetype to Morgan Riley, that's the only guy I see like a really good defender on a really bad team that's going to be willing to trade.
Yeah, one thing that worries me too is do you remember what happened when the Rangers moved on from Ryan McDonough? I'm not saying he would be this guy, but like I could just see that situation coming to bite the Leafs in the ass where Morgan Riley goes really to another team and he just becomes like Ryan McDonough to that team. They put him on their second pair. He's their third defenseman, and all of a sudden it's just like he's this incredible stud and he goes on to win Stanley Cups, and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
We had that guy here. Like, there's no way the Rangers looked at Ryan McDonough while he was in Tampa and we're like, yeah, we're okay with that.
Yeah, no, that must have hurt.
Yeah. But I am seeing, though, Masset Acta saying Moba's not been playing too good, so it'll make it hard to win a trade. I don't necessarily think so. The other thing is, like, Morgan Riley had 16 assists in 20 games. He was nearly point per game as a defenseman. No goals, but still, like, yeah, he wasn't playing great defensively, but he was getting some of the point production. As long as you can give him some guy to sit alongside him to be able to ride things out, maybe help him, calm him down. And I think that's what I've been looking for in terms of we need like a number one. That's one that I think it could help him.
Yeah. I mean, time machine Geo back 10 years and then
Perfect D partner for him then.
Literally though, right? Wouldn't it be been like Geo in his prime was just, he was so solid, you know?
The only thing I think we really are going to be starving for here with this, because I do want to talk about this now, is the Leafs power play. 0 for 3 again here tonight. They were 8th in the league coming into tonight on their power play percentage, but I think that that's a very deceiving stat. And the reason being is that they have nights where all of a sudden they look like they're on fire, and then they go like 5-6 games where it's horrible. And it's fine for a power play to be hot and cold and go up and down, but for it to be like complete heater or complete freezer, those are situations where it's like you can't really have that, because that's where the concern comes in with this Leafs team, and that's what happened in the playoffs before, where the power play just becomes non-existent. Special teams in the playoffs, no, they're not going to like be the most important thing, but those things, oh my God, when they come up, you need them to be running, and we've always had situations where it just hasn't been great come the playoff time.
So weird.
It's like this Leafs power play just needs to be more consistent. I don't care what it is or what they're doing, and I don't care if it gets to a point where they go cold a little bit.
1 game and then 0 for 3 for 2 games. Just go 1 for 3 all of them games.
Right. I think that would be a fair point. Or like you go your 3 for 3 and then you go 1 for 3, 1 for 3. Okay, now you go 0 for 2. Okay, now you're back to 3 for 3. Like there's just a complete lack of consistency, and we've had games where they've gone like 0 for 4 or 1 for 5, and it looks very, very bad. And on top of that, it's not just that they're not scoring, it's that they can't enter the zone. They can't possess the puck. They aren't generating shots. Like there is a whole lot of things that go sour with this power play when it gets to that point. I think one thing that would extremely benefit this power play would be a defenseman who can really shoot the puck from back there.
Liljegren.
You think Liljegren could be that guy?
Yeah. Liljegren has an underrated. I think Liljegren has a better shot than Sandin. I think in general, Sandin's a better passer and Liljegren's a better shooter. Or you know what? I think a lot of the problem might be as well is I think sometimes we have it's a tragedy of riches on that power play. I think maybe I think they're they pass it around. Like the first one wasn't bad. They had a few good chances on the first one, but the other two were just brutal. But I think, you know what? I think this power play might benefit is having 2 defensemen.
Yeah. So, okay, I don't necessarily disagree. I think that that's interesting. What I would say it needs is for them to split this power play up. Because I agree with your first point. This could be a situation where you just have too much on that power play, where they're always looking for that perfect play, that perfect opportunity, because they know how skilled everyone else on the ice is with them. Put them in a situation where it's I'm just throwing out random names, but it's Bunting and Yarncroke are on the first power play with Matthews and Nylander and a defenseman.
There was just one power play where for some reason Bunting found himself out there.
Yeah, and that was the one where he passed to Matthews through the defenseman's legs and he buried in the empty net.
Because no one's covering Bunting, because no one's expecting Bunting to be able to make a play. But when you're when you have all these top guys on, there's I don't know. I feel like they need a Bunting. I think Bunting could go there and just put his ass in front of the net and just make him mess stuff up and just cause havoc.
And I agree. And I think the other thing too with this is if you go to that, you know what's going to immediately happen for Matthews and Nylander when they look and see that space. yet they're going to get some more space, but they're also going to be in a position where they feel like they got to shoot the puck a little bit more because Calle Yarncroke and Michael Bunting aren't the most prolific goal scorers in the NHL.
Yeah.
So they're not going to look at those guys of like, oh, I should give you the puck. They'll be like, all right, I got to shoot it here. And then that could be the same situation for when it goes down to the second unit. And then you can kind of split some time up because a lot of times right now it's like the first unit goes out there for a minute or they go out there for a minute. They usually go out there for like a minute and a half, a minute 45. Sometimes they're out there for 2 minutes. And it's like, well, you've done nothing the entire time.
Yeah.
And then Sheldon Keefe will get pissed off, and then he throws the second unit out there for 30 seconds, and they don't have enough time to generate anything. And now it's like, well, you've just kind of pissed away 2 minutes of any type of opportunity to score a goal. Whereas if you go one unit and then the other, you could give different looks. You could have each power play run different plays, different things, where when that new unit comes out, the defense, the penalty kill that's out there, they're looking at different things every time.
Yeah, I like that idea too, because like, say you have the skill a little bit more split up between PP1 and PP2. It's like sometimes, okay, like they win a draw, they get a shot on net, and like, oh, it's like only 20 seconds went by. And then all of a sudden, if you've split it up, you all of a sudden have just like on a whim, maybe like you have a gut, Keefe has a gut feeling. He's like, you know what, it's been 20 seconds only, but let's switch it up. Let's give it another look. And then like, all of a sudden there's like a matchup game with your power play. Whereas what we have now, teams have the scouting report. They know exactly what the Leafs power play is going to be. Like the reason it was good in years past was because people hadn't really figured it out yet. And with all of that skill and talent, it was always going to be lethal. But now, like over time, teams learn. Teams get scouting reports. They learn how a thing works. And sometimes you just need a change. And I think it's time for a change.
Yeah, I think they need to mix it up. I think, too, it could help where it's like you don't really have to mangle all the lines for this to be a situation, something you
Gordon
can do.
Graham, this is how I know you're an uncle. This guy said put Simmons on the power play.
Yeah, there's Simmons is struggling to get in the lineup right now, so that probably wouldn't be the go-to guy. I get what he's saying though. Like Simmons in his heyday was a legit.
His balls a little, but
yeah,
like a guy who can fight his own. But that's what I'm saying. Bunting, like,
but yeah,
and
I think it's just like at this point. It needs to change. Like we said it, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's what this power play is at this point. It's just the same thing over and over and over again, and nothing new is happening. And yeah, they are 8th power play in the percentage in the league. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, the percentage sucks. It doesn't. But the problem with it is that
it looks stale.
Right. And a lot of times they just, even when the power play is successful, they score in like the first 10, 20 seconds, right? It's not like a slow burn. It's like it just gets finished with right away.
Yeah, it's like you know, the thing is I feel like this Leafs power play, like a lot of their best like power play goals, they thrive in chaos when they get the defenders running around. And I think like in years past when aggressive PKs were getting more and more popular, the Leafs were really good at exploiting that because they had really good hands and they can pass around these guys, right? But now teams have realized that they just have to kind of go to the old school passive box, and it really frustrates the Leafs power play because they can't do those like nice 1-2s around the chaotic like defenders like falling over, trying to stick check this, that, and the other. Like that's where the Leafs thrive. The Leafs thrive in a chaotic environment offensively. And when teams kind of just shut it down and put a box, you need someone who's going to go in there and create some chaos.
Yeah, and I think that it's like I'm seeing here too, Terry Barcelli saying, I think they need bodies in motion much more. They just stand in position.
Agreed.
I think that goes,
create chaos.
Create your own chaos here. And Gordon also saying like, and it goes along with this is like Tavares down low, getting pucks back, going to the net with layers, Simmons, chips. Yeah, like I think that's fair. I just think they don't trust Simmons to get into the lineup. I like the concept, but you probably got to find that out of a different guy. But then he's also saying, They need a guy who gets in the goalie's face, not off to the side like Tavares does looking for tips. Got to get in the goalie's eyes. They're not doing that. I agree with this like completely, and that's part of the reason I wanted Bunting on that first unit. It's part of the reason why I agree with you about Bunting being on that first unit. I think if Bunting goes on there, he gets in front of the goalie's face nonstop. All that does is it creates screens and it creates chaos in front. Now, if the rest of the power play is in motion and moving around elsewhere, it's going to create some havoc in other situations, and then it's going to make the goalie's life living hell because he's going to have to fight through Michael Bunting every single time he's on the ice to be able to even see pucks.
Not just the goalie, like the defenders too, because mind you, I think Bunting is underratedly one of the most hated guys by other teams. People hate Bunting. And if that's the guy that's going to be just like shit disturbing in front of your net on the power play, like if I'm a defender, like I'm not happy.
Oh, no. You know? And you got to battle with this guy who's going to embellish a little bit, trying to draw some penalties. You're already on the kill. Like,
smack.
Yeah. So it's just like you got to create some of your own havoc. But ultimately, that power play, it needs to be fixed. It needs to change. It needs to have some type of creativity to it to be able to mix things up and like give it some jam, man. Like they're lacking it. They've got all these incredible offensive players, and they go periods of time where it's basically just kills 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah. Okay, but this is my question: is if you're gonna put Bunting in, who are you taking out?
Well, I would split up the power play. So I would go. Okay. I would go Marner. Okay, so here's what I would do. Number 1 would be Matthews, Nylander, Bunting. Sandin. Let's assume Riley's still out. Sandin, and I could probably go with a Yarncroke. So then this is how I would line them up. Sandin at the top to run the point.
Yeah.
Yarncroke in the middle in the high slot. We've seen him numerous times be in that position, even at 5v5 where he gets the one time and he can shoot it. Yeah, and he can battle away in front there too. Bunting goes right in front of the net. He's the havoc guy in front, just create shit. And then Matthews and Nylander are on the side, and they just launch shots nonstop. Just pepper the goalie, get those opportunities, curling in, taking your shots from there. I think that's a good situation there. And then the second power play unit, I would essentially run JT down kind of at the side, so it's a different look than what the first one is. Basically, he's in the same position he is. Yeah, because then it adds variety. And now the first unit is they'll be in a situation where you got to defend them one way, and then the other team has to do their due diligence ahead of time to be like, power play 1 does this, power play 2 does that. Power play 2 goes out there, JT goes to his normal spot. I would put Marner on his wall that he normally is. Let's still assuming Riley's out. I would go with Liljegren at the top, and then I would probably put. See, you know what? I would like to give Holmberg an opportunity in there.
Okay. I wouldn't mind putting Gio with Liljegren.
Yeah, see, like that could be fine as well, and then you could go with 2 and 3. Like 2 defensemen, 3 forwards. I think like that's fine. But then this is what you do. Because people are going to be like, well, how does this line get this minutes? Like, and how does that... Like, you could switch.
Or like even mid-game, say like Nylander's like having an off night. You throw Marner on the first power play instead.
Right.
Like you can just mix it up like that, right? It just
well, and then it's also like you could go the first power play for the first minute, the second power play for the second minute, or the first power play is rolling, let them be, leave them out there. Or one power play comes up, you start the first unit, and then you go to the second unit. The next power play, you start the second unit, you go to the first unit. Like it's just, I'm not saying that's what it needs to be forever either. At some point, they could revert back to what they're at right now. Maybe they find that better, but it's like right now. There's so much staleness in this.
You know what?
It needs to be mixed
someone brought up a great point, and Robertson could be on that second power play. if he's in the
Like he
lineup.
could, but they don't trust him at 5-on-5,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
know.
where I'm at with him. Where it's like they really
I
are
think I
struggling
think
with
I,
him.
I actually commented this at the beginning of the stream is Pontus Holmberg is kind of taking the spot in the bottom six. I don't know why, but they love Kerfoot, and I don't think he's coming out of the lineup. And I just honestly at this point I see Robertson as a trade piece more than anything. Like you saw
Yeah,
multiple times the last time Robertson was in the lineup, Keefe isn't even putting him out there if the draw is in the defensive zone. It's like, come on, man. You're playing this guy like 6 minutes a night. Like
yeah, yeah. That's what
it's like
it's just like. He
what do you
won't
even
put him out there. He won't put
I
him out
just
there.
don't
So
I
what
think,
is he doing?
do you think maybe it's possible that because don't please don't think I'm stupid when I ask this, but um is it whose decision is it to keep him out of the lineup? Keefe, right? Or
I would
is
imagine
this
it's Keefe.
Dubas's?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Well, I mean
Because
they definitely support it, but I would imagine it's Keefe's primarily.
like, do you think there's a world where Keefe maybe is disagreeing with Dubas and they're kind of playing this footsie game of like keeping him scratched because like they don't want to play him? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Moneyball, but
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Hatterberg thing. It's
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
You're
They
gonna have to
play
start
Hatterberg.
Hatterberg tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
No, it's my team. I'm not starting Hatterberg, and he's like, "Well, you're gonna have to. Pena's on the other team."
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got a super chat here, I think.
Yes, we do. Super chat here from Michael. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Michael, I'm also not going to forget that you said if this Leafs team misses the playoffs, you'd get a bottle of champagne. So just let me know what kind I'm getting and what the budget is. We'll get that hooked up for the playoffs when that first game of the playoffs kicks off. But Michael saying, would the team be better without Jake, Morgan, and TJ to save $19 million to invest in other players when the time comes? Because if they're that important, the team shouldn't be performing that well. I'll start on this. I partially agree and partially disagree. So first things first, better without Jake Muzzin. Yes. I
Yep.
think all around he is a very expensive contract. He has struggled with injury issues. He's getting to a point where he's becoming a whole lot older. And he's slowing down. He's not really able to catch up with some of the stuff, so it's not been looking that great for him. And then if you can get rid of that 5.65, that's a lot to be able to use elsewhere. Morgan Riley and TJ Brody being out, hey, I think that TJ Brody at some point might be worthy of moving on from. And I'm not saying that like right now today, but over the last year and basically last like calendar year almost, TJ Brody has started to regress a little bit, not to a ridiculous amount, but you can see that some of it is going out of his game from especially even when he first got here. But to say like, oh, if they're that important, the team shouldn't be performing that well, I disagree. We saw situations where Marner was out, Matthews is out, JT was out, and the team still performs without those guys in the lineup. And that doesn't make those guys any less important. A lot of it has been, it's just the other guys step up and you kind of fill roles by committee. So as long as they're able to do that, yeah, I don't know, but I understand the point on the first part, but in terms of if they're that important, they shouldn't be performing that well. I disagree. Do you have any thoughts on that, Matthew?
So first of all, I think I don't think they're being explicit about it, but I don't think Jake Muzzin is going to play another NHL game.
I don't think
he's
so
retired.
either. Yeah.
But the other two, I think TJ Brody at $5 million is a pretty good contract. That's
I
my
agree.
opinion. And then we already talked about Riley earlier and like his presence and everything, but the thing is when people say things like that, there is a phenomenon in sports where I find they're like when big players go down with injury, it goes one of two ways. Either the team rallies around the fact that there's a bunch of injuries and they're like, let's play for these guys, like they're out, let's pick up the slack, and it's almost like a rallying call,
Yeah.
or it goes the opposite way where they like completely just like tank. And I think with the Leafs, what we're seeing is they've taken the approach of rallying around the injuries and saying, hey, look, these guys are really important to our team and they're not in the lineup right now, but let's make sure that we're playing well so that when they come back, we can just kick back right into gear.
Yeah.
So I think there is like a little bit of like an inspiration thing that is not to be downplayed. Like I remember like one year, I hate to always bring up when I played, but this one year, like our team captain got like injured, like our one seed captain got like injured like second game of the year, and we ended up having like our best season for like that like group of guys that we were together. And it was like because like every game was like we gotta fight for Justin, we gotta win for Justin, because like he was always coming to the games and everything, and like we all love the guy. He's
Right.
the C, right? So like it was like a big rallying thing, and I don't think that can be downplayed. I think he might be overlooking that a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I'm seeing here that Handshake Line Respect is saying that Riley is getting paid too much for 0 goals. Riley is supposed to be an offensive demon. Those assists don't justify what he's getting paid. You don't need to keep a player because he's been with the team for a long time. No, you don't. You don't need to keep a player because he's been with the team for a long time. But I also think it's kind of unfair to say like that the goals is what's necessary. Like you're not looking at your defenseman to score your goals. Morgan Riley is not here to be a goal scorer, but he's definitely like he's almost point per game.
He's a playmaker.
Well. Yeah, he's
always
creator.
been a playmaker. He's never been a goal scorer defenseman. He's always been a playmaking defenseman.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that's slightly off there, but like, yes, you would like to see him score some more. Like that would obviously be nice. We've got minimal offensive contribution in terms of goals from our defensemen this year, so getting some more out of guys on a consistent basis would definitely be nice.
III is or 111. I don't know. This III. He's saying the Boreas stuff is definitely important to the group. I totally agree. I think it's been huge, especially for the Swedish players. Yeah. There's been a rich history of Swedish players in this franchise, and I think it's just like really like you can tell what it meant to Willie the other yesterday in Minnesota.
100%. 100%. 6 and third. I'm just gonna leave it at a 6 and a third because there's a lot of words in your name there. Said he had 20 goals a couple of years ago. Yeah, he did. He can score. It's more just like last year, you know what he finished with? The exact same offensive statistics that Chris Letang did. And Chris Letang is an offensive defenseman. Like, they will come. It will come. I'm not really worried about it. He still is capable of getting 10. Like, I think that it's, I don't know. I'm not really worried about it. Depends on how long he's out when he comes back.
Also, Mark, I definitely agree. They should keep the shoulder badge for at least the rest of the year.
Yeah, the Salming shoulder badge. Yeah, I think it's nice. Also, Michael saying, Zach, if the top 4 can't be traded, the most expensive to D can't be traded, then where will the cap space come from? Well, first and foremost, you could trade Muzzin or find a way to maximize his money. Offload that. Like that's first part. His money is on the LTIR right now, so like there's one thing. Then the other part of this is there's nobody saying you can't trade Hall, one of Sandin or Liljegren, Nick Robertson, Engvall, Kerfoot. Like there's other areas that money can be taken out of here. So I get it, but there's other areas where you could find that money. There's Kerfoot, like there's other areas
Kerfoot,
you can find.
Who the hell is it? Okay, this guy said Kerfoot on waivers. Who's claiming Kerfoot?
Well, I feel like a lot of teams would claim Kerfoot, but the problem is, why would you put him on waivers when you could get something back in return? Because people will pick him up.
You're right.
Like think about this. Connor Timmins was traded because Arizona knew if he went on waivers, he would be picked up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So if
And also
Connor
it's a
Timmins
meme
would
to
be
like,
worthy of that,
yeah, it's also a meme to claim Toronto players. So like,
yeah, everyone claims them. Like, it is what it is at this point. So it's just, I don't know. You can get things in return, and whether that be draft picks, or you can get people to take more money off of other things, or you can use leverage points to trade players to
what's
teams.
Ottawa saying? I'm ready to fleece him again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're second last in the NHL right now. They are eating 25% of Matt Murray's salary. They gave us a third-round pick, and they are continuing to up the value of that third-round pick that they gave us. It's becoming hilarious at this point.
You know what? Let me take a look at Columbus here. Defenseman.
See, I think part of the problem that's happened is everyone was very excited about St. Louis and the fact that they might be able to trade Parayko, Tarasenko, O'Reilly.
No,
these guys.
They're completely back in it.
Yeah, these guys have found a way back. They went down 4-1 to the Florida Panthers today. They tied the game back, and then they won it in overtime. Like, that team is rolling now. They're probably just going to keep those guys as their own rentals.
Yeah, why
I can't
would they
see
trade
them.
anything, dude?
Yeah, so now you're going to have to look elsewhere yet again to see if there's other pieces that you could get from other teams, because that's not where it's going to be at.
I'm looking at, but he's a left defense. He's a left defenseman. I'm looking at, because like I was just like going through bad teams. I'm looking at Columbus here, and as a rental for 2.8 until the end of the year, Gavrikov.
Like, I think that, and I'm seeing Handshake Line Respect saying Riley would be a good number 2 D-man. I agree. I think he would be the best number 2 D-man in the NHL if he was playing as the number 2 D-man.
Imagine if Riley got to play with like a Hedman or a Pietrangelo.
Yeah, he would be beyond incredible.
It would be incredible.
Like, think about Devon Taves with Cale Makar.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So, there's that. All right, let's get to grades of the game here.
Okay.
All right, grades of the game. Everyone drop your grades in the chat. Interested to hear what everyone has to say about this one here tonight. Matthew, I'll start with you. What's your grade of the game?
Last time I was on, I gave an A- because of a few defensive breakdowns. This time I'm giving a solid A because of the one defensive breakdown. That's the one blight. Plus the power play was not great again. So to earn that plus, the power play's got to be better, and there's got to be a shutout, in my opinion. So I'm giving an A, and I think it was really dominant. Like, if you're getting Crosby that pissed off, you're doing something right. And we, like, throughout Crosby's career, he's had his way with the Leafs. And the past few games, we've completely shut him down. Same with Gino. Like, they barely had a sniff. So defensively, really great. Just if we had a better power play and maybe not have that one defensive breakdown, it would have been an A+. But still, overall, great performance.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an A here as well. Marner continues his point streak. Pontus Holmberg getting on the board. Then you obviously have Nylander and Matthews also scoring goals. Like, that's a good night from guys that are in your top 4. Matthews has a 3-point night for himself. Chalgren, 25 saves, 1 goal against, a .962 save percentage. Like, he's likely going to be in a position here where he's going to be back down with the Marlies shortly. So for him to be able to do this in kind of some of his final outings with this Leafs team, I think that's a great story for him. That's a good, I don't know, like just a good boost to his morale before he goes back. Watching Crosby get pissed off, that was nice to see. But most importantly here, this Leafs team was dominant from start to finish. So for them to be able to do that, come out here, take it to Pittsburgh right away. We outshot them 41-26. Like, this was a dominant game by the Leafs here tonight that proved like, hey, they were a solid team. They very much so deserve to win this game. And hey, like you walk away from that one, your penalty kill goes 2 for 2 against a Pittsburgh power play that's also loaded, but your power play, as you said, goes 0 for 3. Like that's just, yeah, that power play needs to figure it out. So that's kind of where it's at. But I think that this team, as Warrior Womp says, it was start to finish. Like that was a complete game by this Leafs team, start to finish here tonight. All right, Matthew, before we let you go, thank you for calling, first of all. But as you got to do last time, any final words to the Leafs Digest chat, to Leafs fans, people out there watching this, final words as you go?
Just super excited for 10-7 on Monday.
10-7. That's your prediction, 10-7?
Well, just like last year, right, against the Wings.
Yep, fair enough. So does Marner continue his point streak then? I'm assuming he's got to get a point there somehow.
Let's go.
Marner, Hattie, Leafs win 10-7 against the Detroit Red Wings. Matthew, thank you for calling in. Greatly
Cheers,
appreciated. And hopefully we get to see you soon.
Easy, buddy.
All right, see you later. All right, there you go. Matthew calling in. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in here tonight. I will go through some more of these comments, and I do see a super chat here from Vincent Lee. So, Vincent, thank you for the super chat. Vincent saying, playing big means hit, take hits, and battle hard in corner, but playing big with size will knock people down, hard to knock down and win corner battles. Fair, but I don't know. I just think like playing big with size doesn't really mean I don't think it means much. I think you just need to play big. Like, that's what it is. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. Can you play big? Can you battle? Can you be tough? If you hit guys, and if you hit guys hard, it won't matter. Like, you don't need to just knock guys down. You can still win battles that way. You can win your corner battles. You can be hard to take down. You don't have to be massive. That's where I'm just, like, losing my mind over some of the stuff is, like, what are we looking for? Are we trying to build a team that's like all 6'5", 6'6"? Curtis Douglas, 6'9"? Like, there's a reason they were willing to move on from a Curtis Douglas, because he wasn't capable of doing what they wanted him to do. And he was a 6'9", like 240-pound guy who wouldn't hurt anybody, wouldn't touch anybody, wouldn't hit, wouldn't fight, wouldn't do nothing. So sometimes that size can just... It can just be irrelevant in all of it. But like I understand, but it's just like even Mark Dye was saying, look at Engvall, he can go into the corner and not crack an egg. So it's just, that doesn't matter. Play strong. Like Colorado winning the cup, they didn't necessarily have massive guys. They're not small, I'll give you that, but they're not massive. Tampa, not massive. Like, I get it, they are a little heavier, they play heavier, but they're still not massive. So you just got to be able to play strong, play tough, play hard. That's what needs to happen. That's what you're looking for. That's what's most important here. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in here tonight. Greatly appreciated as always. If you are watching this right now, or you're watching this back, you're watching it live, whatever, you haven't hit like on this stream, make sure you do so. We are 1 like away from 50, so get us there. We are also on the road to 3,000 subscribers on this channel. So if you haven't hit subscribe on this channel, make sure to go do that right now. Turn on the notifications so you get notified every single time we go live. More videos come out on days that there aren't games, so likely try to see if there's anything going on. Tomorrow we post videos about rumors, news, injuries, trades, all that kind of stuff. It'll be out here on this channel, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you see that. Game 23 of the regular season, the Leafs beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-1. Go to 13-5-5.